Hello and welcome to another great episode of Breaking Bread with Laval Voyage. I am your host, Corey Arbayo. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a special show for you in celebration of women's history, International Women's Day. This is very important. An important subject to my heart since I'm surrounded by some amazingly powerful women we're going to be speaking with in just a few moments. But I also wanted to, before we kick the show off, I wanted to just say a few words about some of my own inspirations about this particular celebration with women. Um, we always have, we always say we have heroes, images of heroes in our lives. And one of the most important heroes in my life is my mom. And my mom is one of the ones that actually helped inspire this show and the content of this show. Um, I always think of how much time I spent with her growing up. My dad was always working. He was a truck driver. So I spent the majority of time with my mom, even on her paper routes, when before preschool and kindergarten. And so I remember going on her paper routes with her and putting the little tokens in the machine and putting the papers in. But my mom has been my absolute hero. She's witnessed and been a part of so many things, and I cannot say enough about what the empowerment that she's given me as an individual. And so I just want to say thank you, Mom, for giving me the power to share, be a voice in this celebration. I also want to thank another important person in my life. We always, when we talk about your other half, the significant other, one of the most understanding and most, what I would say, besides my mom, I always say beautiful souls is my wife. And so if we're talking about superheroes, my wife has been with me and been completely my right hand on this show. And right now she's picking up my kiddo from school, so I could actually kick this show off. But she has been a Wonder Woman, not just for me, but for my kiddo. And I couldn't be without be without her or have her by my side throughout my life. And so I want to thank you, Emily. I really appreciate you and love you as you, Mom. So thank you for giving me this inspiration to do the show. So on that, we have some great topics that we're going to share today. We're going to be talking a lot of inspirational voices. And these ladies, one of the most amazing thing that I have the real pleasure of is talking with each and every one of them before we get on the show, and to hear their voices, their inspiring visions of what they want to bring to you as individuals. And I hope all of you after the show begin to follow and support not just them, but the causes that they support and follow too, and they're a part of. So I'm going to bring them on all one by one and allow them to introduce themselves. We're going to start with our good friend and dear friend, Tracy. She's actually broadcasting right now from Scotland. So hello, Tracy. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks, Corey.
Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing your time at dinner time with us. Like I said, I know you're broadcasting from Scotland. So thank you for being a part of the celebration. My next guest is Erin. Erin, come on in. Hello.
Hi,
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to
And
be here.
and where are you broadcasting from?
I'm in Westminster, Colorado.
All right, that's awesome. And you're actually a, a representative for Specialized Bikes.
I work
What
for
is
Specialized.
Specialized?
Correct.
Awesome.
Yes.
Love Specialized. Love mountain biking. I love it, and I believe I love women mountain biking actually more than the men. I think they kick ass. They do such a great job.
They
So
do.
here, cheers to them. I'm gonna bring my next guest on, Miss Joy. Joy, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
And Joy, where are you hailing from right now?
Hailing from Chicago, Illinois.
All right. Well, thank you for spending the time with us, sharing your voice and your vision with us. And Joy, what are you a part of, Joy?
So, that's a good, well,
Many things.
yes, besides being a Pilates trainer, marathon, triathlon, and swim coach, I am a coach for the charity Team to End AIDS. It's a group that is well and dear to my heart.
Awesome.
And the goal is in the state of Illinois, is to get to 0 new cases by 2030.
Awesome. Awesome. And we are going to touch more on that with Joy. So thank you so much, Joy. Next guest is going to be our lovely guest, Trini. Hello, Trini. Hi, Trini.
Oh, hello. Can you see me?
I can see. Can you see us? Are you good? You good?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you.
Where are you broadcasting from, Trini?
I am in Boulder, Colorado.
All right. Another Colorado. All right. I love it. I love it. And our next guest is Miss Joy Al. How you doing, Joy Al?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for spending your time with us today.
Absolutely.
And where are you hailing from, Joy Al?
I'm going from the Baltimore area in Maryland.
Awesome. I love it. Love it. All right. And our last guest that we're going to bring on is Miss Nikki. Hello, Nikki. Oh, wait. Let me see. Do you have your, let's see, unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Go. There we go.
How are you?
Awesome. Good, good, good. And where are you broadcasting from, Nikki?
Bay Area, California.
Awesome. A Californian. I love it. Local. So we got a great show. I'm really excited and scared to be surrounded by all these beautiful and powerful ladies here today. So welcome, everyone. And so we're going to kick things off. We're going to kick things off and about the celebration. Now, everybody, Tracy, Aaron, Joy, Trini, Joyelle, and Nikki, thank you so much for your time. I just want to tell you again, thank you so much for sharing your time with us and sharing your time with the guest, the viewer. What is this day? And we can go one by one. What is this day? If you're talking about Women's History Month, and International Women's Day, what does it mean to you in your gut? So anybody could chime in. We could take it away, or if you want me to. Aaron, let's start with Aaron. Aaron, what does it mean to you?
On the spot. For me, it's really just a celebration to come together and, either talk about or think about, how far we've come and how far we have to go. It's always like we all know that there's so much more work that needs to be done, but we also need to stop and give, gratitude and, spend time with other women and really celebrate them. And I think that it's important to celebrate how far we've come, and it gives us time to reflect and think about all the things that we've done over, each year and kind of plan and see and create ideas for where we're going next.
Awesome. I love it.
I love
it. I love it. I love it. Joyelle, what does it mean to you? What does this month mean to you? And women's history and just in general?
Yeah. So I think about different things. My work largely is around adolescent young adult development. And I think about young girls and the impact of different changes, like socially, economically, and how it can kind of affect the trajectory of their life. So I think about how we have overcome different things as women, different obstacles, to different barriers to achieve where we are now, and how we can give back to the young folks so that they can, have an easier time to achieve different goals, to have an unlimited life.
Awesome. Love it. It's very inspiring. Every one of you are inspiring me. Tracy, I apologize. I was like, that's what my dad brain does. But Tracy, I want you, besides talking about what Women's History means to you in International Women's Day, just tell us a little bit more about what you do too as well.
Oh, sure. So, gosh, if I were going to label myself, I would say I am a passionate animal rights activist and an activist for veganism and all the benefits that veganism brings to animals, people, and the planet. And that activism is manifesting itself in the businesses that I have started and the things I do in my spare time and my life. So maybe we can talk a little bit more specifically about that later. In terms of International Women's Day, I'll just add to what other people have said. I think it reminds me of how important women have been in inspiring me and reminding me that I have a voice, and I have a really strong and important voice. And especially now as I'm in my 50s and I've embarked on sort of a second and third actually career in my life, I really am using that voice. And so not only am I remembering how inspired I was by people that came before me, but reminding myself that I want to be a role model for people who are coming after me and making sure that young women feel empowered to use their voices.
Awesome. Yes, I love it. I'm feeling inspired. Nikki, what does it mean to you? What does International Women's Day, Women's History Month mean to you? And I love your picks. I love your picks with the kiddos. So what does it mean to you, especially with the kiddo?
Yeah, thank you. For sure. I think International Women's Day, it's a great opportunity to celebrate all the differences across cultures, the different types of women around the world, and all of our accomplishments, how far we've gone, and how much more work we have to do, echoing some of what the other ladies have said on the panel. I think that for me particularly, I have a son, so it's so critical to kind of expose him to different things that might be a little bit unconventional, like reading books about women, reading books about girls. Growing up, I read a lot of books about like Spider-Man, Batman, and it was just the norm that women or young girls would read books about boys being, the main character. So just little things like that. When my son is able to feel empowered reading a book with the main character being a girl, and just understanding, the different challenges that women go through. I think it's such a critical time to just celebrate, but also acknowledge what's still left to be done. And yeah, it's great for parenting as well, and to look at how many opportunities we have to stand in our power, and that we are a force. We are a force to be reckoned with.
I love it. Yeah. And, just what your word said, because I have a kiddo myself, he's 3. He's almost 4, getting ready to turn 4, and really giving them and teaching them about equality, from jump. You talk, if you're just talking about everything, the whole layout, and being an example and sharing that and having that understanding, like you said, reading about more of the women, the superheroes and things like that, but it's all female based. It really brings something. It really brings an enlightenment to educate them, and I love that. And I'm going to definitely do more of that. Trini, what does Women's History Month and International Women's Day mean to you?
Sorry. So to me, it's an opportunity to just celebrate and acknowledge all the women that have come before us and have opened so many doors for us to be able to do what we love and to have the same rights and to have the same opportunities, or, you know, we're getting there, but, you know, in the main, to be where we are right now and to be able to celebrate that. I mean, you guys mentioned kids, and I can tell you that I think leading by example is also crucial. You know, I started this nonprofit as a result of a crash, and my littlest one was 9 then. And he has been an integral part of It Could Be Me and the growth of It Could Be Me. And it's just been really nice to have him just watch how something that could have been just something horrible that could have, you know, the consequences could have been terrible and devastating, and yet that kind of turned into this very, very positive movement. And just seeing that whatever you set your mind to, I think you can accomplish. And so
love it. Yeah, I think it's important too. I think when we realize it, our kids really hold the key to what we really want to. When we look at our kids, we really look at what we really want to be and how we want to express or show the world, you know, be an example for the world through our kids, you know, through our kids' eyes or through our kids' visions. And I think it's important. And I always think, man, I think that was one of the greatest lessons learned about being a parent, was just having that representation or that being that example for my kiddo. Joy.
Yes.
Joy, thank you so much for joining us. Joy, what does Women's History Month and International Women's Day mean to you?
It's not only a celebration of what we've achieved throughout the years and how we've contributed to every aspect of life, society, history, science, medicine, but where we can go, because it's not over yet. Yes, we do have equality, but there's some doors that we still have to open, and we're seeing those doors being pushed open, shoved open, kicked open. So it is a celebration, but also a celebration of what's to come, because there is so much more that is on the horizon.
Absolutely. And I love what you said. It's about the future. What about what the future holds? And one of the things that we actually just discovered or just witnessed this past month was a little bit more, I would say, equality to women in sports. And one of the things we're going to highlight a couple of things today. We're in our talks, but one of the most resounding things was equality for women's pay in sports. And I always think, like, when I'm watching a sports channel and I see a lot of the broadcasters talking, and they say, "Oh yeah, we want this for women," or "We want this, you know, we want to support this," but it's not everyday content that they talk about that. They talk about it when it's necessary. And I think this is the one topic that really needed to shine. Was just recently we had a big win for the international U.S. soccer team. And it was a big settlement. It was a big lawsuit, creating equal pay for women on all fronts. And it's not just international, it includes club and professional sports as well, for soccer. And this is just one note. And I know Megan Romano has done such amazing work on being an advocate for women's soccer. But this is something that it should be done more. You know, we need to see more of this as far as on the equality. Even one of the biggest inspirations for me, why I thought this celebration was so important was, and I discussed this with all of you, when I was in the middle of preparing this next season, it was right when the WNBA finals were happening, and the two teams were actually just getting in. The Phoenix Mercury and the Chicago Sky were just getting into the WNBA finals. And I happened to go onto the Instagram page, and this is why everything is so important, because what we put on our pages, how we share our content, what we do, what we provide is very vital, how we portray everything. But there was people actually on the WNBA site actually say, oh, is there a WNBA finals? Or, oh, I have things that are better to do. And for those people that actually said that, I thought you need to do something better, because your voice is not necessary to what these ladies need right now. We need to be cheering and being a support system for the WNBA so they can continue to grow. And that's just one of the huge things about the WNBA. That's just one point. But even for them, they're professional basketball players, and they're still taking charter flights to the games. Unlike the men's, if we're talking about men's basketball or the professional, the WNBA or the NBA, these guys are getting luxury jets where the WNBA don't have that. And so I think this is really an important thing to kind of bring to light and really share that. And so what do all of you think about as far as equalizing more of that? I know all of you have different backgrounds, different representations of entities that you represent, but what do you feel is very important right now, how we can build a better, if we're talking about the sports industry, whether it's the international and the Olympics to the professional, the NBA, the WNBA, to even collegiate. We see a lot of stuff in collegiate now, issues with collegiate. So what if you ladies could chime in on what you think would be something that you would like to see more of, or how we could create those leagues, make those leagues better. Anyone? Everybody became silent. Aaron, let's go. Well, why don't we start off with Aaron? Aaron is, you're involved in cycling, mountain biking. What could you feel as far as just sports in general?
I will start by saying I am by no means claim to know the answer to these tough questions. Mm-hmm. I know that the best people to ask are the people who need the help. And I think that's where we help, whatever the issue is, whatever it is that women in sports need, whatever it is that their teams need. I think those are the people whose voices need to be amplified. And I think as allies, as supporters, it's our job to listen to them and help them be heard. Because I think one of the biggest issues that you hear from generally men or other people in those sports is that, they don't have the same following, they don't have the same fans. And there's obviously a reason for that. It's not because nobody wants to watch them. It's that we have glorified and supported and uplifted the men's sports for so long that's just historically where we're at in humanity. Right. And in order to change that, we have to replicate it in a way that does the same thing for women, so that we continue to progress them and we continue to amplify them and highlight them. And they're not just, when we talk about marketing in the sports industry, they're not just like, oh, there's your signature female, let's throw a female in this video. Right. Like, that's not the answer. It's really, really amplifying those voices and bringing the same attention to them, because like you even made a comment about women's mountain biking. It is so exciting to watch. And it is. When you do go on Red Bull TV, the women's mountain biking is getting just as much attention, if not more now. And that has, changed over time. And so it's really about how to support and amplify them, because it's not the reasons people say they're not getting the same pay or the same airtime is not actually accurate. We just need to do different things for them.
Absolutely. And I Joyelle and Trini and Joy, they're all part of the cycling community as well. I know we talked about with Aaron, we touched on mountain biking, but Trini, you have a triathlon background. So does Joy, and Joyelle, you have some cycling, some, if you're talking about long distance rides and races and things like that. So how do you feel as far as even the context of women in cycling in general? Because one of the things that I found too is I'm a big fan of women's sports in general. But I'm a huger fan if you're talking about, I love basketball and I love soccer and I love cycling, you know. So if we're talking about those sports, I really want to see more of an emphasis on those sports. But even women's cycling in general, we're going to play something in just a moment. But Joyelle, Trini, Joy, if you want to chime in, what do you think you'd want to see in the cycling world, even if it's road cycling to triathlons?
I think Erin touched on it, looking at the historical factors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a newbie cyclist. I've kind of took up cycling more seriously in the past 2 to 3 years. But I remember buying my first adult bike 10 years ago. And I was looking at all the bikes, didn't know the difference between a road bike, hybrid, trying to figure out what I want to do. I was scared to fall, of course. You know, like most people, like, I don't want to fall and break a bone. But when I was asking about bicycle, they're like, oh, this is a woman's bike versus a men's bike. And I was like, what's the difference? Like, well, because women used to wear dresses. And I'm like, but we're like in 20,000, 2000, we still have that model of a bike that we're coming for women's dresses. Like, how many people you see flying on a trail wearing a dress? You really don't, you know, for a number.
Right.
Still, you know, and now I only see bikes like that now. They're more like fitness bikes. You see where the top bar is not there, but the fact that that was still here in 2010 when I bought that bike, and then there's women's saddles versus men's saddles. But like and you can go on about, but my first time trying to do a century, I rode a bike and it had a men's saddle, and I didn't know any difference because, you know, it's like I have a bike, I'm riding it, and I had so many issues with the saddle, just was horrible that I wanted to fling the bike away when I was done. But looking up information about women's health in cycling, saddle issues, hand issues, you know, there was really nothing in 2019. Like now you see a lot more research, a lot more information out there, but the focus has been traditionally on men in, you know, physiology, aerodynamics, performance enhancing, what we can do to amplify them in the sport, to, you know, the top medals. But for women, it was secondary. And I even found an article that said there's very little in terms of research about the issues of women in cycling. So when you look at it, you know, a lot of things are kind of the way they are because they have been that way and people haven't really challenged them. And when they've been challenged, they've been kind of poo-pooed, like, well, people only watch it. But like you said, Erin, if they amplified it or changed policies or really evaluated why that was put in place to begin with and what assumptions were made and what should be changed, I think we see a different outcome. And it wouldn't be pushback that a lot of the arguments made would not be as valid as you said.
Right.
I think we will see that. I mean, women's cycling. I think I had that same problem when I first bought my first bike. I was looking for a bike, and the owner of the bike shop literally rolled out a pink bike. And I looked at him and I walked away, and I'm walking out. He's like, oh, there was like, just because I'm female does not mean I want a pink bike.
Right.
I'm like, you know that my gym actually has a partnership with you. I actually work for them. All I have to do is write something and tell them something, and we will, you know, get rid of our partnership. Just assuming that I didn't know anything, that you're just going to give me something. But it's the same thing with the NCAA, women's NCAA. We're going into March Madness.
Right.
And it was kind of interesting. I believe it was 2-3 years ago. The men's training facilities were amazing.
They showed that footage.
But then you have the women's facility. Oh, it's maybe 5x5. Oh, here's some pink dumbbells. Here's some 5-pounders. Here's some 10-pounders for you. Are you serious? The women work just as hard as the men. It's the same sport. The only difference is the gender is different.
Absolutely.
Just seeing that equality and there needs to be more of, we have to push the envelope. It's like they're not going to give it to us. We have to demand it.
Right.
And I see this in the fitness industry, since I am in the fitness industry. But it's one of those things where, oh, well, you don't need to do this because you're a female. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
about challenging those misconceptions. I mean, I live in
Yes.
Chicago. When the Sky won the WNBA championship, here's the interesting part. I could not find a Chicago Sky jersey in the stores. I had to go online, and there was a minimal amount. I had male clients who wanted to buy Chicago Sky jerseys, couldn't find any in the stores. But if the Chicago Bulls wins a championship, or
Exactly. Right.
the Bears or the Fire, you're going
Right.
to find it right away.
Absolutely.
So it's about changing the narrative and just rethinking things. Even if we look at the three major media markets, Chicago,
Right.
New York, and LA, if you get them on board, everyone else will follow suit. But we have to
Absolutely.
change that adage of, oh, it's a women's sport, no one's interested in it. Are you
Absolutely.
serious? I'm very
Absolutely.
interested in it.
I think,
Absolutely.
I think adding to what Joy's saying, I think we've made leaps. I mean, honestly, I've watched the whole entire like playground, if you want to put it like that, grow in like exponentially in the last couple of years, even with COVID. I mean, we have races that have, had been on the spotlight, like the Tour of Colorado. They're all women, right? And they're huge events, and they're recognizing this need, like what you're mentioning, Joy. And it's very, very exciting to see. And even this new addition to the Tour de France. Are you guys familiar with what's happening right now? I mean,
Yes.
it's in a very exciting time in many, many aspects, and especially for us as women.
Absolutely. And and if we're gonna show a clip from the women's Tour de France. But one of the things that I'm gonna have Tracy and Nikki chime in too on is on their view, being on the outside. I know you are on different sides of the spectrum as far as entities, but one of the most important things that I think is with what Joy and Joyelle and Trini and Aaron said about women's sports is how we express that content, what we show. Joy, when you said you couldn't find a Chicago Sky jersey in the stores, how many people know that at one point we had the greatest professional women's triathlete in the United States win back-to-back championships with Gwen Jorgensen? And not everybody knows about Gwen Jorgensen. And now she's doing marathons now, but she was a huge advocate for the sport of triathlons. And I actually was, if you're talking about triathlon, when I was in the midst of my triathlon racing, I watched women's ITU sports more than the men. And if you're talking about the different women's representatives, from Paula Finley from Canada to Gwen Jorgensen in the United States, they were representing the sport much better than the men. And the one thing that's hard for me to take is I'm going to say this, we have people like Aaron Rodgers that lies, fakes his way about COVID and does all this other stuff, but we broadcast it like we need to know about what Aaron Rodgers does. We have things like Kyrie Irving that's going on in Brooklyn, but we don't hear about what the Chicago Sky has done or what Candace Parker has done for Chicago Sky in the sport of women's basketball and the WNBA. And what, if you're talking about Sue Bird from the WNBA and how many Olympic gold medals she's won 5 Olympic gold medals in a row. And we don't know about this a lot. So this is our responsibility, as if we're broadcasting it from, if we're talking about Fox, ESPN, whatever broadcasting that you're broadcasting from, you need to provide that content. That content is so important because what we portray, we need to show that. We need to show that for everybody. It's got to be on equal terms. And one of the things that I'm going to show right now is I'm letting the UCI know this is not for any benefit use. I'm not getting paid to use this. I am showing this as a prime example of what needs to be broadcast, because just this past October, we had the first ever women's Paris-Roubaix, which was historical, which is one of the hardest one-day races in cycling. And the women did it and did an outstanding job, but we didn't hear too much about it. And now we're going to have the first ever women's Tour de France that is going to be broadcasting in June. And I'm going to show a clip because I think it's vital to show everybody that's watching and everybody that needs to know this. It's important because this event is going to be huge, and I'm going to be watching this. My eyes are going to be on this to watch this coming June or July. So again, UCI, that was just clearly for promotional use. I got that because I was able to grab that clip. And this is something that we don't know about. And this is historical. And this should be something that's noted. Now, from Tracy and Nikki, on your point of view, from seeing something that is on a historical monumental type, if you're talking about elevation for women, and just women in sports, how did that make you feel as far as even seeing those clips of women climbing those mountains? They're going to be doing, the one thing that is different is they're doing smaller, they're doing less stages than the men, but they're still doing an equal representation of what the tour is. So what is that? What did you feel as far as being on the outside? If we could start with Tracy or Nikki.
I mean, for me, it just really embodies like the fact that we're doing the work, and there's progress being made, and we're just taking it day by day. For me, I've been in the corporate world for about 10 years now, and there's still so many changes that need to be made. But it's just a reminder that, you know, when we put in the work collectively, that and change these narratives, that we can make progress. And then my company, what my IG handle is on here, it's just advocating for women and that kind of decolonizing parents and how mothers can deviate from kind of like this cultural harsh parenting that we're traditionally used to. So it's just about taking all those steps to keep moving forward and breaking barriers and making changes.
Absolutely. How about you, Tracy? What did that make you feel by watching that footage?
Well, I think it's really, really exciting, and I'm a huge fan of the tour. I love the big bike races, especially living here in Europe. You know, it's a big deal. I lived in Italy. Actually, got to go to the Giro d'Italia when I was living in Italy, which was awesome.
Awesome.
But I guess my thought when you shared that clip was, I wonder if I would even know about that if I weren't participating in this, because I just wonder if the promotion will be sufficient. Maybe it will, and I really hope it will be. But I think, you know, it's not the quality of the events. It's the marketing dollars that are put behind it. Right. It's the sponsor dollars. It's all those things. And it's the disparity is still immense. I think it's immense in a lot of sports. So I guess as an outsider looking in, I would say, you know, I will watch it now that I know it's coming up. I'm very excited to see that. And I will just also add that I haven't been on a bike for a couple of years because I fell in the middle of COVID and had a dislocated fracture of my kneecap, which was really, really horrible. So one of the things my physical therapist said was get on a bike. So yay.
Yes.
I may be joining you in the next call telling you about my cycling. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, and I think that was one of the biggest things for me, you know, watching that inspired me just as an individual athlete to go out and ride my bike, even if it's raining outside. that just inspired me, and it gives me hope to see what the actual UCI, the League of Cycling, is actually doing, and we need to keep on pushing that. We need to amplify our voices, keep on amplifying our voices for the UCI, and let them know, hey, it needs to get bigger. It needs to be equalized just as much as the men can do. The women can do it, and I've seen it. We've witnessed it. Let's do it. Let's do it. It's time now. And one thing that's really special about triathletes and triathlon, and I don't know if Trini, you know this, but triathlon has always been an equalized sport as far as the men and women distance. They never changed the distance. If you're doing an Ironman, you're doing an Iron. Everybody does the same Ironman. Never was changed. It never was a different mile or shortened as far as the swim or the bike or the run. It was always the same miles as far as doing the Ironman. That was the whole purpose when they developed the Ironman and triathlon was, hey, let's see if you could do this. You could do a 2-mile swim, a full 100 and something mile bike ride, and a full marathon. And now you have this as far as equalization, and that's what one thing that we need to keep on doing is, hey, triathlon has showed that. We've seen that in many sports. Let's bring it. Let's bring it now. Now it's time to bring it. And I cannot say enough about that. And so I'm glad that I was to share that with you. And I'm glad that you said that because Tracy, when you said, I don't know if I would have saw that promotion if I wasn't on here. And the scariest thing about that I will leave and we can move on to the next subject is they release the route for the Tour de France every October, somewhere September, October. And I didn't know about the women's tour until it was actually when they talked about the release of the route in September. And so you're thinking, and I still haven't seen a lot of press for the women's tour. So this is something, again, what we need to do as far as corporate America, whoever's doing this, all the businesses that are involved need to get off their hiney and start promoting this and really push it because it's important if we really want to make this done right. So I'm glad that was exciting. I love that. And so now let's talk about what you would like to see as far as the world. We're talking about Women's History, International Women's Day. As far as all of you and your entities, I know Tracy really works on the vegan industry. Nikki works with parenting. We have, Joyelle with her nursing, and Joy with her cycling, and Trini with her own organizations, and Erin with Project Bike Love. Even Project Bike Love, and I want to go into all of those with everybody. But what is important for you right now as far as growth for women, more entities, more support? How can we do better? If we want to start, who wants to start? If we want to start with Trini or who?
Well,
Tracy,
I think
Tracy,
more.
or Joe. Okay, go ahead, Joy. Sorry.
I think more of having everyone on a level playing field. I work in the fitness industry, and one of the good things about the fitness industry, everyone's paid the same. Like, I'm a trainer, so we are paid the same regardless of if we're male or female. Same thing in some sales industries, but there needs to be more of, I would like to see more mentorship, more acknowledging that, yes, we know our stuff. Don't just assume that because I'm female, I don't know things or I'm not knowledgeable in something. Give us the mentorship, give us that opportunity to knock on the doors, to just give us a seat. Instead of, you don't want to give us a seat at the table, we're just going to put our own chair up.
Right. I really totally believe that. If we're talking about equality and everything that's needed for women to have equal part, they need to have that at the table. And one of the things I'm trying to do right now is trying to fix your screen, Joy. I think you went to mute. There we go. But yeah, I think that is very important. Tracy, what do you feel?
I guess one of the things that I have I've spent a lot of time doing is I've been working in the vegan activism world, and also as someone who's an entrepreneur. I look at the statistics and where funding is going, and this is true in business, in startups, in venture capital, in the entertainment industry, who gets their projects funded. It is still dramatically disproportionately flowing to men. And so I would like to see women at the table. I would like to see women getting more consideration. I would like, I guess, as Joy said, an equal playing field when it comes to breaking into new fields. Sorry, I was hearing an echo, I think, of myself. And you know, it's funny because I would say even in the nonprofit world, it's changing. But if you looked at, I used to work as a fundraiser before I started my current projects. There were lots and lots of women in the field, but not lots of women at the top. And they were not setting the trends, and they were not setting the tone for the organization. And that actually yielded a lot of problems in the organizations, you know, where I worked. So those are just a couple of areas where I would like to see change. You know, people getting consideration for funding, for starting new businesses, for having a voice and a seat at the table, like Joy said. And also I would like to see more women not just getting jobs in organizations, but sitting at the top of organizations and having the opportunity to lead, because I think women are great leaders.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the subjects that I'm going to talk to you about, well, I want to bring you on, Tracy, too, because I know you were talk about, is women that are older too. A lot of times representation of older women don't get represented. And so we need to touch on that. But let's go with Joyelle. Joyelle, what do you feel?
So for me, it's like kind of twofold, right? So one part is the healthcare side with nursing. The other side is cycling. So, you know, my background is in nursing, worked in a unit. So I saw a lot of different things. And then when I started cycling, to back up a little bit, I used to run. So I was kind of always in fitness growing up, all through high school and a little bit into college. And so when I was surprised to see how little information there was specific to women when it came to cycling and cycling issues, again, it's starting to shift now, but in my opinion, not fast enough, because with the pandemic, a lot of people took up cycling. You know, many of us a little older, you know, thought that we can take up cycling that we did when we were kids and realize that our bodies don't quite function the same way. So
Right.
we need to, with the, and you know, you go to the GYN or your primary care doctor, the physical therapist, they need to understand women's specific issues when it comes to the saddles. Anatomy is not the same as men. And then what you still find a lot is kind of mansplaining, men explaining to women why they have saddle pain and what they should do about it. And a lot of top advice is just ride through it, which is just not the same, because there's a lot of long-term implications that can happen, you know, especially in that area, very sensitive, a lot of nerve endings. So I think there should be a lot more focus on the issues of women on the saddle. You know, you have a lot of professional, you know, and even semi-professional or amateur, you know, just fitness for road cycling, mountain bike, you know, adventure cycling, all different types of cycling and fitness, triathlon. So there has to be a focus there so that people can enjoy the sport safely. You know, and then if you're not in your harm, you know, then you kind of get out the sport. If again, just like with anything else, the WNBA versus the NBA, if there's more dollars, research, and information towards one part of the, you know, one, say, gender in terms of cycling and fitness, then the other part is kind of left out, and, you know, being disenfranchised, more likely to be injured and less likely to continue the sport.
Right.
Then the other side of it is just representation in general. You know, as a Black woman, I am excited when I see a Black professional cyclist. You know, there's Legion out in California where they started their own team, you know, predominantly, you know, people of color and women, and they're fighting for equal pay in the cycling industry as well. And to see that, and, you know, I've never watched hours of YouTube of one person riding on the road, but I did it because I saw someone that looked like me.
Right.
And then with the pandemic, just to see that many cyclists that look like me, the Baltimore cyclists, Baltimore cycling, Bike More, Be More, they had a lot of groups. And it was like at one point, hundreds of cyclists out there that looked just like me on various forms of bikes, some from childhood, some they just bought brand new, on the road riding. And it felt good to be seen. So that representation matters. So just like, you want to see them in the industry on the top levels making decision making, because we all have different backgrounds, right? So we all have something different to bring to the table and how we see things and how to problem solve or how to bring new innovations up there. But if you're not at the table, and you can't really accommodate for the different people on the lower levels, kind of like on the other end of the product. So I think representation across the board.
Right. Now, I think that's very important. And also, when you're talking about, if we're talking about cycling and like women's saddles and things like that, have women actually produce these, not men, have women actually produce the products. You know what I mean? It's a joke when you hear, oh yeah, these guys are producing this women's bike, but it's geared for, well, why don't you have a woman do work on the project? Why don't you have the women be ahead of the projects that you're talking about as far as women-related projects? This doesn't make sense. Erin, one of the things that I wanted to touch on with you, especially what you do with Project Bike Love, I think it's such a huge thing how you donate bikes to women in Uruguay, and this is something else that we're going to go into. But tell us what you would like to see, and even through Project Bike Love.
I think that's a big question. I think, with Project Bike Love, we use bikes as a means of connection, right? Like we are a bunch of women who are all avid cyclists, and what our intention was to create global connection. And what's always really important to me is that we look at, women's issues globally and not just here. We are way far ahead of many countries and many communities, even within the United States. Like we work with the Navajo Indian Reservation. We work with, many different communities in Paraguay. We just did a delivery in Oaxaca. And anytime you're somewhere, you see and understand women's issues from a different light. And it makes me very grateful for how much work and how much time we put into the issues here. And then it also makes me realize that some people are way far behind us. And one of the reasons that we chose bikes is because we wanted to give women safe and reliable, independent transportation, right? In a lot of these communities, the women do not get anything. The men, every house may get one of whatever it is, a motorcycle, a car, this or that, and it's never given to the women. And so by giving them bicycles, it's not just about the bike, it's about giving them the empowerment, giving them the freedom that they deserve. And I think, being an all women's organization where we're run by a board of women, it's really empowering for them to see women traveling around the world and doing these things. And it makes a big difference. And I think even in our sport, like many of you have mentioned before me, is that, having women in these roles, not having men drive the women's movements within companies and whatnot. So it's, putting women in leadership roles, not just as a supporting character, but really allowing their voices to be heard and for them to make choices. And I think with anything, it's a process. It's not going to change overnight, but the more that we can do it on an individual level, the more we can bring it to our companies, to our organizations, the more changes we will see. And sometimes you move 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, and that's just with anything. And so, it's really, to me, it's just about keeping going, and continuing to find areas where we can support women and help women. And, even in bike shops, going back to like what Joy's saying about the saddles and stuff, it's like, well, one, it's really awkward for men to talk to women about saddle issues. And it's like, so how do we get women in those roles so we have more help, more people, more equal, more equal leadership, so we can support the growth of women's sports or women in any industry.
Absolutely. And I think it's before we get to Trini, I want to have Trini come on. But one of the things that I just got to say, just what you, Aaron and Joy touched on, and Joelle touched on, was as far as having women in those roles. I worked for a big bike company, and I worked for a small mom and pop shop as a wrencher and a rep. And one of the things is that you have this big representation of male bikes, and then you have the small little representation, or if it's anything, any representation of female attire or female like apparel, or the physical bikes themselves. But I think that's what needs to be on mind when these companies are growing. You got to have, if you're on top, you got to have both on both ends, so you could have better equal representation on both ends. But it's still not happening. Trini, what do you feel as far as what you would like to see?
Well, I've been taking notes. So I'm in the advocacy space. I found it could be me after being involved in a crash, and it was horrible. And I have found that so many women, like, as part of it could be me. I think more than 60% of our audience is women. And as far as what we've been able to accomplish, we've joined coalitions, and I can tell you that the leadership roles in these coalitions are all women. I mean, we had a huge win earlier this year, and it was as a result of 4 organizations, all led by women. And, I think it speaks volumes. I mean, I'm also part of the Core Sports team, which is a team that dedicates to bring more women into the sport. I mean, our mission is to be that person that will give you that confidence and that friendship when perhaps you don't feel, that you're prepared or whatever. I mean, we're those people that will lift you up. And I've been an ambassador for them for about 6 years, and I've just seen the sport grow and grow and grow. They just implemented the Power Up program, which is like a grant. They allocated these funds, and they fundraised to bring more opportunity for women of color and just for women in general. I mean, it's been, I don't know, I've been in the sport for about 10 years. And yeah, I mean, I had the experience of going into a bike shop, and just the mechanic would not even look me in the eye because I was a woman. And I was sitting there just literally asking him for, I don't know, like a tune-up or something. And the rest of the employees apologized on his behalf because he just was of this mindset, I suppose, that, women don't belong on bikes. And I have no idea, but I can tell you honestly that is the minority now. I have seen women like rise and just literally, like someone mentioned earlier, I think it was Joy, like truly like knocking doors down and bringing on opportunity for so many. And that's why I think today is so important. It's just kind of acknowledging all of those women that had to go through so much in order for us to be here. And moving forward, I always like to focus on the positive. I mean, I know that this conversation could go on for hours and hours and hours on how we could better the situation. But at the same time, there's a lot of wins, and we have to celebrate those too in order to feel that we have the energy to move forward. I mean, yeah, sometimes, especially in the space that I'm in the, road safety advocacy, I mean, it's really, really hard to have tangible wins. So, it's sometimes, hard to encourage people, but at the same time, if we focus on the ones that we do have, like maybe getting a stop sign in an intersection that, is very, very dangerous, and you as a result will be saving lives. I mean, that's a huge win for your community, right? So
Right.
just focusing on the positive and just moving forward from there. And I think that's incredibly powerful.
Awesome. I love that. And I think it's too, I love what you said about the wins. One of the things I think for me being a male is we need more wins. More wins. We talk about the wins that we do have, the wins that you do have. I think there needs to be more, and we need to keep on advocating for it. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to do as far as being a voice, an amplified voice. Nikki, as far as on your end, even with the coaching, everything that you do, what would you like to see more of?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there are two sides, right? I have the corporate world and then my work on social media.
Right.
I definitely want to see increased resources, support, flexibility options for women, for mothers, in the workplace. In the corporate world, I was maybe the third person to get pregnant in my division, but I was the first person to stay. The other two didn't feel like they could, go back to work. And so it just speaks to a lot of lack of resources that can help support mothers, like well-being, their mental health, childcare, things like that. A lot of things that that are lacking in the corporate world that are keeping women outside of leadership roles. And in terms of like my social media presence, a lot of my work has to do with my sharing my own journey, how I kind of overcame a lot of stresses and the struggles in parenting that limited my own power. So the whole idea is how to live powerfully, how to parent powerfully, and how to dismantle these ideas of these traditional ideas about harsh parenting, but also, mothers doing it all. Like a super mom is just a mom who's strong, who does everything, but also a mom who asks for help can also be a strong mom. And so just dismantling these ideas and these self-limiting beliefs that kind of keep us in these struggles and the power struggles with our children. And so that I'm just providing like one small resource with my social media work about how to live, a peaceful existence with ease, how to bring ease into the home, how to bring ease into parenting, eliminate power struggles, just getting creative. And I think that we need more of this to help continue to support women's mental health and mothers' well-being. Because currently, I think that when there are all these frustrations and a lot of strong feelings, emotional holds like guilt when it comes to parenting, it can be very detrimental to a mother's health and well-being, and that affects her children. So learning the roots of how parenting started and how it became colonized and how harsh parenting kind of took over, and what that really means in terms of our mental health and how that affects how the household is run and how our children feel. It just speaks volumes to that. So just dismantling that one by one and continuing to provide resources and support that there are other possibilities in parenting. And kind of getting to the root of those of the trauma we face, self-limiting beliefs that kind of limit our power to be able to tap into all that we are as people, as women, and as parents.
Awesome. Yeah, and I there's there was a refocus on resources. I think women in general need to have more resources available to them, and on all spectrums. If you're talking on all different entities, on all different places, I definitely think one of the things that I continuously hear on the underscore is resources. We need these resources. We need this information. We need this content. We need all of this provided so we could have accurate, so we could be on the same level. It seems like everything is kind of limited. We want to keep things here. We don't want to keep things there. We want to keep things here at the safe spectrum. So again, it's the resources and what we provide. And I always say I feel fully responsible for the content that I provide, because I want to make sure that the content I provide is equal. If I'm doing something for one entity, it's got to be equal for the other entity. I'm not going to just overbound and go, okay, I got to just do this or do that. It's going to be all lopsided. I try to do my best to try to even it out, because I have that responsibility. I have that opportunity to provide the content the best way possible. Yeah, we need to do a little bit more work, but we need to also celebrate again, as Trini was saying, celebrate the wins that we have. And one of the big things that I could all say that with all of you that I get a chance and opportunity to talk with you is, we got through this pandemic. We're getting through this pandemic. And for most of you, I know everybody has their outlets. For me, for my family and I, we joined virtual races, virtual themed races. We did everything from Harry Potter to the Outback, and we did calculated or miles. So we'd either hike or walk or bike or run. And that was our way to really get outside and move as a family unit together. And it was really cool. But all of you, what did you do to get through the pandemic? What was your little push to get you through? I know we're talking about celebrating women's history, but also, how did we get through and salvage our lives through these last 2.5 years, 3 years? Anybody want to chime in? Let's start with.
I think for me, I'm in the fitness industry. So you tell us that everything's shutting down. Oh crap, what do we do? I brought my bike home, put it on the trainer. I was still doing my rides. I was running outside where I could run, because we couldn't run on our lakefront, doing Pilates, teaching Pilates remotely via Zoom, still connecting with my athletes, doing warm-ups, doing strength training. That is what kept me sane.
I love it. I love it. And that's how most people got their IG page started, was through the pandemic. They started doing things, and that's basically how I started my whole podcast too. So, Tracy, how about you? What was your way to get out and get through this pandemic?
Oh gosh. Well, so I was living in Italy when it first struck. So I lived through being in the epicenter in Italy, and then I moved in the middle of the pandemic. So that was somewhat of a distraction. I moved countries. I broke my knee, so that gave me something to focus on, rehabbing my knee. I started a nonprofit. I started writing a book, and I have also refocused along with my business partner, our production company, on a new project that we're going to be launching this year. So, you know what? I just assumed I was going to come out the other end of it, and I just kept pushing forward and pushing forward. And I think because everything I do, like the other women here, it sounds like we all are sort of mission driven. We have things that are really important to us. And I wasn't going to give up. It was too important. Right. The animals are too important. The world, the environment, everything is too important. So I just kept going. And for me, interestingly, it has yielded so many new projects and so much excitement in my life. So yeah, I'm very excited about it.
I love that. And it seems like, again, everybody got inspired to create something and to pay it forward, to do something to pay it forward. That is important. I always think after I watch that movie, I always use that term, pay it forward. It's time to pay it forward. Because it is, we have opportunities. We have so many great opportunities, especially what we got through. And it's bigger than we really think, but we got through it. So it's huge. Nikki, how did you get through it? How did you get through it?
It was definitely a big change with the remote schooling and the schools shut down. So, I really had to, I had to be very structured and organized and strategic with how I approached our daily routine. especially with a full-time job and a kiddo with, you know, a lot of energy. So
Yeah.
I definitely made a point to prioritize my mental health, his mental health, not missing a beat with therapy, incorporating different practices like mindfulness, meditation, things like that. And just trying to lean into not only my needs, but my child's needs. Doing things like attaching like a climbing ladder to a doorway to give them an outlet to burn energy between all of these, you know, long hours of sitting down looking at a computer and understanding that it's not just a big change for me, but for my child as well. And the only way we're going to survive this is if we, you know, get creative and kind of adapt to this new normal to ensure that our needs are still being met and not neglected.
Absolutely, especially for the kiddos. You know, I have a 3-year-old myself, and to the right of me, there's actually an indoor trampoline that we got him because, so just like you were saying with your kiddo, how you has lots of energy. Same thing, you know, it's like, man, what am I going to do? So we got him this indoor trampoline,
Right.
and he can jump as much as he wants and, you know, and just have fun and let out that energy. And that was great. I love that creativeness of just even putting a little ladder at the doorway, you know, being creative, how we explore that. We really got tested. I always say, we got too comfortable at one point. We thought, okay, we are just going on our merry old lives, and this was like a test. What we're made of, what our individual life was made of, and what we could do, and how we could be victorious with this. And it's amazing. So, Joyelle, what about you?
So for me, cycling was it. You know, when the pandemic hit, my now husband, you know, we got married during the pandemic, but we worked in the same little office in the basement, which is about like 10 by 8. So imagine for 2 years, still, we have worked in the same office together. And so we needed an outlet. He was very extroverted. I was like, I'm staying home. I don't have to see anyone. I'm totally fine. But really, it's not healthy to stay home and isolate like that. You need to kind of interact with people. You need to socialize. You need to have an outlet, because no matter what stage of life or what you did into your occupation or whatever, the pandemic touched every single body in the world. So cycling was kind of the outlet. We started off with walking, and then it was like, we have these bikes. And of course we died the first, you know, few months of riding like 7 miles an hour, just walking a bike up any kind of incline, to joining all these cool bike groups in the area. Some that started during the pandemic, some haven't established that we didn't even know existed. So, and now we're like riding with a number of like 7 to 8 bike groups in the, you know, Maryland, Maryland, Virginia, DC area. And the bike community has been kind of like another family for me. So, and for him too. So we found like another network of people to kind of interact with. So I did things I never thought I would do. I would say people are crazy, like bike to another state, you know, like you know, having goals of like trying to hit another century. Is like, what, you know, and then even like taking my bike down to Atlanta to like a huge One Love a festival, bike festival, which was like, I drove across the country with 2 bikes on the back of a car to ride. That's something I never thought I would have done, but due to the community and the support, you know, of kind of just finding a new outlet and a new love. I love running was my first love. Cycling became my second, and kind of like a close set first. But even with the cycling community, like, you know, he got into a really bad accident last year, and the cycling community like really came through with support. And so instead of us being again confined at home while he's rehabbing, I was like, I have a ride at 7 o'clock in the morning, an hour and a half away, and you are waking up for it. You know, everything, get in the back seat. And he grumbled, but he came down and supported me. So like just that helped him, and also helped me with mental, you know, mental health and just the support. But one of the things, you know, I did was have a bike coach, you know, a good friend of mine. And one thing she said after his accident, because the same week of his accident, I was supposed to do my first endurance ride for the year, which was a metric, so 65 miles. And I've been training for it at that point in time, you know, really building up my endurance and everything. And then he had an accident, and I was like, I canceled the Airbnb, you know, it was in the Eastern Shore, so about 3 hours away. And she said to me, I know it sounds strange, but as a woman, you need to do this for yourself. You need to continue on and do that endurance ride, because as women, we tend to sacrifice ourselves, be the caregiver. And I know he's injured, I know he needs you, but you need to do this for yourself because you owe it to yourself. And I was like, this sounds crazy. And I talked it over with him, after anesthesia, after his surgery. And he was like, but she's right though, because you have trained for this. And cycling hasn't been easy for me because of all the issues with saddle fit and the right bike and all the different issues of like affecting fitness. And we went. And so like those kind of things challenge myself of what it means to be a woman, what it means to provide support, what it means to be a good partner, what it means to prioritize myself, self-care. And sometimes we think doing certain things would be selfish, but it's really not selfish. It's about prioritizing your needs to make sure that you're okay, because if you're not okay, no one else is okay. You can't really be there for someone else. So cycling really challenged me in a lot of ways. Well, it got me out, it got me a new support system, or say a larger support system, but also challenged my ideas of what it meant to be me at this stage in my life.
Yeah, cycling and the cycling community is huge. When something happens, they support you. And even when my wife and I moved to another state, we moved from California, and to have them still be around. And one of my things was my wife got me Swift during the pandemic. So I got to connect with a lot of them and join them on Swift rides. So it's great. You still have that connection. Who did I miss? Did I miss Joy or Aaron? Aaron, Joy? Did I? my dad brain went into full effect. Who wants to take the lead? Go ahead. Joy?
You got us. So you got me already, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go to Aaron. All right.
I guess, sorry, the original question was about during the pandemic, right?
Yeah. How did you get through the pandemic? Yes.
I was listening and then I lost track of the original question. Sorry about that. I could go on about the pandemic. It was, there was like the waves of different, portions of it, like the beginning when it was really scary. And then I was furloughed from my job, and then I started a brand new job, and then I moved for that job, and then we never went to the office, and then I moved back, and like there was a lot of things, like even the things that I found joy in, like mountain biking and being outside. It was questionable whether you were supposed to be doing that because you were putting search and rescue at risk and such. And so then I was even anxious about things that I needed. And the first few months took me a really long time to figure out that I had to have a little bit of, effort and selfishness and like take care of myself. I definitely feel deeply when it comes to sort of like, I would say like group grief, right? Like, what we were all dealing with. And I mean, I remember crying when I'd go to the grocery store and I'd see elderly people who were confused and couldn't find toilet paper. And I really fell apart in the beginning. And then another part of that is that, with Project Bike Love, everything we do is hands-on. I mean, that has been from the beginning. We want to hug our beneficiaries. We want to be there. And that had become such an integral part of my life. Like, it was like my grounding. It was like what I looked forward to working towards every year. And we weren't able to really interact with beneficiaries. And so I had a lot of really supportive and amazing people in my life that I got to connect with, and that kept me sane. And I dealt with a lot personally, but at the end of the day, I remember being like, God, if this is only me, I don't have children or a husband. So this is just me, that I'm having to deal with, and it's this hard. So I can't imagine how hard it is for everybody. And it was hard to see the differences in the people who were thriving and the companies who were making so much money, and then the people who were suffering. It's been a very interesting 2 years, but I would say that I think overall I have found oddly, not that I'd ever expect this to be the outcome, but I think I found a balance in my life that I don't know I had before, because I think we were all in some ways forced to really see what's important to us. And kind of who we are in the world. And so, you know, it's just, I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, I think coming out of it, you know, even the other day, I was like, it was so weird to not have a mask on. You know, it to me, all I can say is it's weird. Everything's weird now. And, you know, now we're going into other humanitarian crises that like we have no control over. And I think, you know, someone like me, and I think probably similarly to a lot of the women on this call and a lot of the people who do humanitarian work or volunteer work, it's that we care so deeply about others. And we've gotten to a place where it seems so overwhelming. And then there were even times with Project Bike Love where I questioned if what I was doing really was anything important. It almost felt like, and this is just a very honest confession, but sometimes it felt trivial or like I wasn't really doing something that mattered, you know, because of all the bigger problems. And I don't think that now today, and I was able to see and do a delivery recently. And I remember like how important this work is in the small areas that we do it, and how just doing anything at all makes a difference. And it doesn't have to be solving world hunger. You know, it doesn't have to be fixing the war in Ukraine or the problems with Russia or the issues with our government, you know, or the stuff happening in Florida and Texas. And, you know, it can be small little things in our community. And I think during the pandemic, I was brought back to that and remembered how important these small things we can do as individuals make a huge difference. And so it's helped me refocus.
I love everything that you said, because it just reminds me of in the midst, we moved from California to Oregon right at the end of 2019, and all our families are back in California. So to be isolated from them and not to see them, we were going to go back. My wife and I were both ex-Disney cast members, and so we were going to go back to Disney for my son's birthday, and we couldn't go back. We couldn't even see our family, and it wasn't until more recently where I got to actually go and see my mom, and we just did a turnaround really quick for a weekend on my birthday. But yeah, it's amazing what we did to get through it, what pushed us, what inspired us to get through it. And that's what is one of the best things about sharing your voices, your visions, and your strength. All of you represent strength. And that is one of the things that came across throughout everything that we talked about today. Even Tracy's dog right there. I see the ears coming out. There's a dog. But yeah, it just showed a lot of strength. And this is one of the reasons why we need to acknowledge and celebrate and do this every day. Not just one day of the year, but every day of the year. Because what you ladies represent, what you have shared with us, what you shared with me, it just inspires me even more to do more, to be a better person, and to do more in what I do. And so I want to thank you again for your time. And I know our time is gearing down, and I can't believe time flew. But again, like I said, I really appreciate all of your time. And I want to ask you one last question, a fun question. Now, what is your favorite guilty pleasure? And we'll all go down the line. We'll start with Nikki. Nikki, what is your guilty pleasure?
Oh man. I would say when I get a chance to sit down and just watch like reality TV, something trashy where I don't have to use any brain cells at all. After a full day of like go, hustle, it's like just great to go into that brainless like zombie mode and just tune out.
I love it. Joelle, what about you? What is your guilty pleasure?
I mean, there's a lot of them, but the top two A chocolate and zombie shows. Anything with zombie movies, series, I watch them all.
Nice. I like it. I like it. I dig it. Chocolate and zombie movies. I dig it. Joy, what about you? What is your guilty pleasure?
Besides Ben and Jerry's Chunky Monkey ice cream, I am a big Marvel junkie.
Yeah. All right. All right.
Thank you, Disney Plus.
So you binge watched a lot of the Marvel movies.
Oh yes.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite Avenger?
My favorite Avenger actually is Scarlet. Actually, it's between Scarlet Witch and Black Widow, because
Nice.
Black Widow, all she has is a pistol.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
literally.
She totally kicks ass. I love it. 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 Erin, what about you? What is your guilty pleasure?
I have to say, my guilty pleasure is manicures and pedicures. It is like my thing, because I'm using my hands all the time with the bike. Like, I'm in such a male-dominated world that I just love going to the salon and hanging out with the women and talking and just chatting. It's just, I don't know. It sets me straight. It gives me a little boost of dopamine that I need. So
I love it.
It costs me some money that I don't want to spend, but it's worth it.
I love it. I love it. And Tracy, what about you? What is your guilty pleasure?
Oh gosh, I think I'm gonna have to go the same thing as Nikki. If someone saw my watch again on Netflix, I'd be really embarrassed for you to see what I have watched the first time. But it's one of those things where during the day I spend a lot of my time reading and researching about things that can be pretty horrific, and you get that sort of overload washing over you, and it's so nice just to watch something silly. So
absolutely,
I think that's my pleasure.
Absolutely. And I just gotta say, so I think I drive my wife mad. So I have my guilty pleasure. I am, that was one of the things that I inherited from my mom, is being a romantic. So I have to watch every Hallmark Christmas movie that starts in October all the way till January. And then it still continues on because I DVR everything. So I have to watch it throughout the year. And my wife is like, it's summertime. You're playing Christmas music. Come on. And I'm like, I gotta watch it. But it's between the Hallmark movies, and we found these things at Trader Joe's. If you have a local Trader Joe's by you, there is these things called Bombas, and they're made with peanut and corn. They look like cheese puffs, but they taste like they're like a mixture of corn and peanut butter puffs, of yumminess. And they do ones that are dipped with Nutella and all this great stuff. And it is my way to sit at home. You think I'm watching a basketball game or something. I'm watching Hallmark movies, watching my Hallmark Christmas movies and my Bombas, sitting in my chair and watching my gig. That's my thing. That's my guilty pleasure. But I am just that. That is one of my worst guilty pleasures, I guess. But again, I want to thank all of you so much for your time and your energy. Thank you all for joining me. Everybody out there, please follow everyone that you see. From Tracy, I'm going to actually bring your solo layout one more time. You follow Tracy at Tracy Vegan at Expat. It looks like Expat. But let me see if I have her. Let's see, Tracy, where are you at? Tracy at Animal Time TV. You can see her dog ears right there, peeping right over the little banner there. Please follow Tracy. She's amazing. She's a dear, and I was so excited to have you on. Thank you, Tracy, for your time.
Thank you.
We have Erin. Erin, thank you so much. Let me see if I can bring your solo layout in. And at her IG page is Outdoor Bougie. But you
Bougie.
could also bougie. And you could also help Erin and donate to Project Bike Love. This is huge. Their organization is just amazing, and they have some really cool cycling kits. But anyways, please follow Erin and Project Bike Love and donate what you can. They could definitely use the help. Let's
so
bring
much.
on Joy. Joy, thank you so much again for your time. You can follow Joy's IG page at Fitness724. I love your page. You just make me feel pumped up too. Thank you for your time, Joy. You're a monster. I love it. Joyelle, here we go. Follow Joyelle at Black Femme Cyclist. She's a PhD, and you know it. She's a PhD. I love it. When she sent me her bio, she's like, "Yep, you know it." So I thank you so much for your time, Joyelle. You're amazing. I love everything you brought to the screen today. Please follow Joyelle. And also we got Nikki Cruz. And you can follow her at Marty Mommy, right? Marty Mommy. And she also has, let me see if I did this right, Nikki Cruz. There is her website, martymommy.com. You will appreciate, you've been on several different shows and have been represented several ways in different publications. So look out for Nikki. She's out there. All her stuff is so valuable to the screen, to you, especially because we're still coming out of this pandemic. If you really want to learn a lot about parenting and mental health, Nikki provides that on her page, and you'll love her pictures of her kiddo. Absolutely adorable. I think that was one of the highlights to our reels that we did. Thank you so much, Nikki. And
Thank
to
you.
all of you who joined us today, we really appreciate you. Please stay tuned for more coming to you. If you want to join us out here at Breaking Bread, you could follow that email address. It's a long email address at breakingbreadwithlevelvoyage@gmail.com. And if those of you don't know what Level Voyage means, it means the traveling bicycle in French. Since I was a cyclist and a wine enthusiast, that was one of the things that I put together. So please email me there if you have any inquiries, or if you want to join us on the program, please email me there. Ladies, once again, thank you so much for your time. Have a great day. Did anybody bring your little toasting glasses or anything? No, I got my coffee cup.
Water.
Oh, I got your tea. Everybody, cheers to you. Cheers to you on your day and Women's History Month. Let's make Women's History Month and Women's International Day every day. Let's go out and support these ladies, support their entities, and let's provide the content that they need so we can equalize. We can be on common grounds with everything. Let's do our jobs. Thank you so much. Be well, everybody.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next
Thank you for
time.
having me.
All right,
All
thank
right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Cheers. All right. And here we go. This is the part where it takes me a little bit long. There we go.